development. The first six days were the training. The next 3 days are going to be the project selection and planning. So once again, please keep your microphone muted and put your questions and comments in the chat. And thanks a lot for your participation with Dr. Rogers yesterday. He really enjoyed your input. I don't think he's taught a class in about 10 years, so he really enjoyed it. All right. So the plan for today is we're going to talk about why we need project partners. We'll go over the project documents, and then I'll introduce you to the projects and the project leaders who are here. We happen to have, I see Dr. Wilson is with us. I'm not sure about any of the other project leaders, but he'll have a chance to explain his project in Zambia. Okay, let me share my screen. And let's see here. All right. Just need to make sure everyone can see the screen. If you can't, just write a note. A little bit on the background to this. I previously used to work in the US, and I took students to the Caribbean, to 3 countries, to St. Lucia, Dominica, and Belize. I did about 15 courses like this, where we traveled down to those countries and did projects. Worked in a lot of different areas of sustainable development. We did agriculture, energy, environment, and health. This one was an environmental project, and but it's a good overview of project partners. So that's a little bit. So this one comes from St. Lucia. By the way, someone told me that the city of St. Lucia, where the University of Queensland is named after the island of St. Lucia, but don't know if that's true. Okay, let's see. Why do we need project partners? Why are they important? Well, they have better ties with stakeholders than we do. They know the problem better than we do. And we need to partner with them for long-term sustainability. There's this, the old paradigm of foreign aid, where you would sort of like parachute in and then parachute out, and nothing would ever get accomplished. So what we found is that we needed to engage in long-term relationship over many years in order to accomplish things with our project partners. Sometimes it would take a couple of years to get to know each other, and then finally, after 2 or 3 years, we'd get something done. All right. We don't risk of not having one. We don't want to have a negative impact by going in there without any knowledge, and our local partners have much better knowledge than we do, so they can inform us. And the other risk is not being successful. We may not be successful without these resources and contacts that our local partners have. This is just an example of the partners that we had in this particular environmental project that we did in St. Lucia. It involved the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries, and numerous other partners. As you can see here, lots of stakeholders, much more information. How do we choose a partner? We've chosen a problem. We've chosen the problem of promoting and developing development minerals. We familiarize ourselves with the issues, which we've done over the last few days. The next thing I'll ask you to do after class today is a literature review, which means just read the literature, any information you can find about the location and the problem or the issue that is being addressed, and your project leaders might be able to direct you to some good material. We don't want to reinvent the wheel by not knowing what's been done before. So we want to find out. This is typical in academic work. You want to read the literature to find out what have people done before. Same thing with patenting. You want to see what's the prior art, what's been invented before. You don't want to duplicate what other people have done. And also, we don't want to look like idiots because we don't know what we're talking about. This is just a little quick summary of ecological economics, which is a sort of it's a new approach to economics that says we have to look at the scale of the problem in relationship to the encompassing environment. In other words, the economy cannot grow forever. There's a limit. So we have to look at the scale of the issue. We need to use resources renewably. We want to look at the distribution of benefits in society, which of course economics doesn't consider at all. So how are the benefits distributed? And then what type of method is used to allocate resources? Is it a democratic allocation? Is it a executive or bureaucratic administration, or is it a market allocation? There's many ways to allocate resources, and they're all available to us. And there may be a combination. So, for example, we talked about government support for the development mineral sector. There may be loan guarantees or grants or training, and that would be a democratic or an administrative allocation. Then there may be sales of material to the market. That would be a market allocation. And so there's no pure market system. There's no pure government system. Most things are a combination. I say there's no such thing as economics. There's just political economy, because everything is affected by politics. The idea of economics is an abstraction that doesn't really exist, because everything is influenced by choices that are made by politicians, by NGOs, by business. So there's many ways to allocate things. That's the point. Okay. So here's the process. We've identified the issues, development minerals. We've identified the stakeholders. We've got our project partners. They've listed some alternatives. There may be multiple solutions to a problem. We can define exactly what alternative, different problems is what this refers to. There may be different problems. We want to define what we're working on, and then what are the goals? What are we trying to accomplish? And our stakeholders can help us with that. And then our goals are kind of general, and then we can have specific objectives. So in your project proposal, you're going to put down your objectives. Just a little bit about why we did this project. They were looking at water quality management. And if you look at these two pipes, the dirty one, they're kind of flipped backwards, but the dirty one comes from this area over here, and the clean one comes from this. And the reason for that is when all the trees were cut down, you get lots more runoff, and then all the mud goes into the water, and it looks like this. When you have an intact forest, it filters the water before it gets to the streams, and it looks nice and clean. So anyway, that was what the project was about. But okay, I'll get to that. There were stakeholders because all these people were affected. The dirty river water affected the coral reefs. So it affected the dive operation, it affected the fishermen, it affected the residents who might want to use the water from the stream for drinking. It would affect the farmers who are the ones chopping the trees down to grow crops. It would affect tourism. Anyway, so there's lots of knock-on effects. So anyway, there were a couple different options. Cut down all the trees right to the river, right up to the edge of the river and make maximum profit, but ruin the river. And there's another alternative. Instead of clear cutting, how about growing crops that grow on trees like cacao? Then you don't have to cut the trees down. You still get a marketable crop, and you've preserved the filtering action of the trees. But if you just do a cost, if you just look at the financial values, you're going to get more money you're going to get money right away by cutting down the trees. There's no value to the clean water or anything like that. So but the forests provide many other services. All of these things are provided, but none of them have a price. So the market doesn't recognize anything that doesn't have a price. So one way to do that is to put prices on those things, and then people will pay attention to them. But there is the pitfall. If you put prices and you do a cost benefit analysis, the value of the trees might be higher, and it might be still make sense to chop them all down. So be careful about how you use these cost benefits. I mentioned the example, I don't know if to your section, about the Ford Pinto. The gas tanks used to explode, and the company in internal documents decided that the cost of paying the damages was lower than the of the people dying was lower than the cost of repairing redesigning the car. So they said, well, the value of a human life is X dollars. It's cheaper for us to just pay the damages than it is to fix the car. And so they let that go on until they got caught. Anyway, that's the problem with, cost benefit analysis. And I think I may have mentioned the book, knowing the price of everything and the value of nothing. So not everything can be measured in dollars. So desirable ends, find a ministry that's working on it. We've identified project partners. What is the goal? How does this connect to this is a little outdated. It was the Millennium Development Goals. How does it relate to the Sustainable Development Goals and the goals of the organization that you're working with? Anyway, this project had the idea of monetizing the values of the forest services, recreation and erosion control in particular. So this is the assignment for tomorrow. Basically, we're going to develop these project documents, which I'll go over next. And after today, I'll ask you to do a little bit of research. The idea is that it's like a funnel. You start broad and you work down. So you start, okay, we're working on development minerals. Okay, we're working in this particular area, say Zambia. Okay, we're working on the problem of sand mining in rivers. Okay, we're gonna focus in on the illegal miners. That might be kind of the way you narrow it down. And Dr. Wilson can explain more about the sand mining problem when we get to that. Okay, so that's the kind of an overview of project partners, and see if I can get this to come to the front. Haven't figured out how to do this yet. All right, I think I want this one here. So I have put these documents in the website there. The first one is the project form. So this is kind of just the way that you can organize your group, who they are, and then these are, some things you need to determine. And I would like you to submit these to me Friday if you can. If not, get it to me as soon as you can. And then the second form is to form the agreement with your project partner. So you basically specify the obligations of each party, the project leader and the students who are doing the projects. What are your mutual obligations, and what are the objectives, and what are you going to deliver on this project, and then maybe a little bit of a timeline. So, and the outputs, what are you going to accomplish? So these are the two forms I'd like you to submit to me as soon as you can, Friday, ideally, if not as soon as possible. This is not a contract, it's an agreement. You know, this is not legally binding, but this is basically just writing down what you want to accomplish and what the project leaders would like to get done. So that is kind of a summary of the project process. And the next thing I'll do is move on to the projects, and we'll go through them. Let's see. So who else we have here today? Don't know if we have any of the other project leaders with us, but let's start with Dr. Wilson, since he's here, and I will turn it over to him and get him to explain this project description that he has shared with us. So Dr. Wilson, if you want to unmute your mic, and you could go ahead and talk to us. And also your video, if you don't mind, so we can see you.
All right, thank you.
We heard you. Are you still there?
Hello.
Hello, I hear you.
Okay. Can you see me now?
Let's see. Yes, now I see you. Welcome. Thank you for coming to our session today.
Thank you. I think maybe you can share the screen. I think I can explain. Just continue sharing your screen.
Can you all see that? I have the sand mining document up on the screen. Can you see that? Yeah, Anja says he can see my screen. Are you able to see it, Dr. Wilson?
Oh yeah, I'm able to see it. Basically, the project that is in Zambia, for some of us from different continents. Zambia is in Central Africa. It's actually at the heart of Africa, in the center. Basically, Zambia is a developing country, and being a developed country, there's still a lot of infrastructure to be built. That includes roads, hospitals, bridges, as well as schools. And because of that, the capital of Zambia, which is Lusaka, is actually rapidly growing, and infrastructure development is quite high. That is both from the public sector as well as private sector. And because of that, there's quite a lot of requirement for sand, which is one of the components for infrastructure. And that now has resulted into actually a very high demand for sand. And the easiest way to get it is actually to get it from the riverbeds. And there are quite a number of rivers surrounding Lusaka. And you know very well that the moment someone tampers with the riverbed, they will destroy the habitat of aquatic animals and microbes, as well as the flow of the river is affected. And not only that, you know that the rivers are the ones that actually recharge groundwater and even the catchment. And it's because of that the problem that is there is illegal sand mining. And when you look at the registration in Zambia, it actually prohibits illegal mining. But when you come on the ground, you find that actually youths, especially youths underage, talking about from 6 years, as young as 6 years, as young as 10 years, are involved in sand mining to just provide a resource. And despite registration to say, okay, no child labor and things like that, you find that this problem actually still continues. And the research, basically the proposed research is aimed at looking at this challenge and see how it can be taken care of. Because when you look at the causes, there are quite many. There's the gender part, there's the socio-economic and environmental factors. When you look at the gender part, you find that the children are affected, even the women. And in terms of the social and economic, that's a source of livelihood, as well as when you look at the environmental factors, degradation of the environment is occurring. And one of the other things I think is environmental pollution in terms of water pollution, because the water actually is degraded due to sand mining. I think this problem has not been well researched. As actually one of the research gaps is that there is actually no information that is there. So for students who would want to take up this course, this project, there are quite a number of things that you can look at, because actually there's no data on how many miners are there. There's no data, and the value or the volume of the materials mined, that's non-existent. And even I'm talking about the children and women. No one has ever done a research to look at how many children are involved, even how many women, and even looking at in terms of alternatives, because we're looking at how can we develop smart policies. What alternatives do we have for us to stop this problem? So when you look at it, there's quite a huge research gap that students who are willing to take up this project can look at, looking at their, I guess Gary, the class is from different facets, I think. Others may be interested in the environment, others may be interested in the socio-economic. Yeah, so it would depend on the student to look at what's the area of the interest. I think I've put a number of, I think I put 3 pictures to just show that is one of the river banks that has been affected. If you look at the river bank, it's actually widening. The river channel is widening due to sand mining. So I think I was there some 3 weeks ago, and I took those pictures some 3 weeks ago. So this is something that I think we can look at and maybe see how we can solve this and provide some smart policies on protecting the environment and being sustainable. I think, Gary, unless there are any questions for me, I think that's a project.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that presentation. And if there are any questions, just raise your hand and we'll call on you. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through all the projects, and then you'll let me know which one you want to join. I want to point out that there are some that are more likely to be in your time zone. And I'll tell you what those are. This one is, of course, one of them. And most of the ones in Africa, I would say, and also the Philippines and India are closer to the time zone for this session of the class. But it's up to you. The people in the earlier session didn't want to be limited by the time zone. They wanted to be able to choose regardless, and then wanted to make their own arrangements. So make sure you keep track of which project you want. And what we'll do is we'll go into our breakout group. So Dr. Wilson, if you can stick around, we'll get some students to join you in a breakout group after the break, which will be at around 4:30. If you could stick around or come back by 4:30, and then we'll put people in a group with you so you can meet with individual students. Does that sound all right?
That's okay with me.
Okay, so like I say, you can stick around or come back in 1 hour. We'll go into our groups. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We've got someone who's an iPhone. I don't know who that is, but oh, it's Dr. Mamous.
Yeah.
Yes, your connection is very bad. Welcome.
Hello, Gary.
Hello, your connection isn't too good. You might want to try again.
Gary, it's Anthony here.
Yes, I hear you, but your connection
Yes, how are
is
you?
very
Sorry,
bad.
It's very bad. I'm actually driving to a center. I lost power and I'm driving to the next center.
Okay, sorry to hear that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, all right. We'll see you soon
Thank
when you
Gary.
connect
I'll
up.
try later.
Thank you. That sounds good. So iPhone is asking where is the actual place, and it says here on the sheet Lusaka in Zambia, but maybe Dr. Wilson could tell us exactly where that is if he's still here. I think he may have dropped out. Oh no, there he is. So where is Lusaka, Zambia, Dr. Wilson?
I think the question from I don't know, iPhone. Actually, the quite a number of rivers where sand mining is happening. I think that's why the quantification or mapping is required, because the pictures which I have shown are near the Kafue River, which is one of the big rivers, and I took them. Oh, I think yes. So it's in the Kafue River. Then there's another river just near Lusaka, which is Chongwe River. There's sand mining there. So I think when anyone chooses, we can look specifically at which river they would be interested to look at. Or if they want to do mapping, then we can do mapping of all the river banks where sand mining is happening. So it's quite interesting, and it's quite there's quite a lot of research gaps in this project. So we can still look at the exact locations later.
I have a question for you, Dr. Wilson.
Yes.
Is it, did you say that you are looking exclusively at illegal sand mining, which is quite interesting because the next project I'm going to show you is in Fiji, and they're looking exclusively at the registered legal sand mining. So are you looking exclusively at the illegal mining?
Yes, I'm exclusively looking at the illegal because from the statistics, they are the ones that are providing huge quantities compared to the legal ones. So,
right.
So so the numbers of those who are producing legally is low, but the illegal ones, they have even devised means and ways of delivering that at night. So you have night sand mining and delivered in the night. Tomorrow you have your sand in the morning. So there's quite a lot that can be actually looked at, so that we have smart cities. I think everyone wants smart cities than we have environmentally degraded environment to live in.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so that's quite interesting that the illegal mining is providing the vast majority of the material. And I guess if you don't have any kind of quantification of what that is, then it would be quite difficult to know exactly how big the problem is. So yeah, I can see the value of that. I just think it's interesting. When we get to our next project, you'll see it's basically exactly the opposite. So are there any more questions about the sand mining? Oh, I have a hand up. Musa, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Gary. Good evening, even though it's morning here in Nigeria. Yeah, this is an interesting project. Well, I just been curious on the kind of policies. What are the focus of the smart policies to be developed? Is it towards providing an alternative to the illegal mining, or a kind of regulation that will stop? So I don't know what are the priorities, focus of the policy. Is it towards providing an alternative, or outright prohibition of the sand dredging from the river base? Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Musa, for your question. I think it's not outrightly prohibiting sand mining, but I think for the smart policies that we're looking to develop is to look at, do we have alternatives for them? Okay. If we don't, then what are we supposed to do to actually end this problem? Because I think we can learn from what others have done, but it's good to look at, to localize the problem. Okay, so I would say it would be good for you, Musa, to come up and look at the project and then provide alternatives. Because if you only look at it in regulations or the law, you are going to kill the socio-economic. So when you kill the socio-economic, you actually not end up solving the problem, because people will not have a livelihood. So what is the solution? That's why we're looking at a holistic approach to this. It may not be conclusive, but I think we will be able to provide solutions to the bigger challenge.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yeah, that's right. That's what
yeah. So it would be good to, if you can come in and say, okay, this is what we can do. This is what has been done in other countries. That's okay. But there are local challenges that are there. Problems are different from country to country. And it would be good to look at the problem and then find sustainable solutions.
Okay, thank you. And you'll see they're doing a very similar project in Fiji. So as he said, they have the same problems in many places, and each context is slightly different. Okay. All right, so we'll go to, I think, oh, here's another question. Shall sand mining focus on smart policies only, or shall include mapping, resource estimates, and enforcing small policies? I would say that is between you and the project team leader. So that's something that you will work out in your project in developing your agreement, what are you going to do? So I would say that, you know, you can't answer that ahead of time. I'd say you should negotiate that with Dr. Wilson. And that's kind of the idea of the next couple days, is to figure out exactly what is the you know, the scale of the methodology, and what are the objectives. So that's something you can work out with your team leader. Any other questions before we move on? I see someone sent me a message, but I don't know who it is because it's in Arabic letters. So I don't know exactly who that is, but someone said they're going to be following the Zambian project. And I will definitely put you on there if you can just tell me who you are in a direct message, because I can't read Arabic, sorry. Okay, let's go. Thank you very much, Dr. Wilson, for the you know, detailed explanation. And so we'll go over to Fiji. Now, Fiji, most of these are going to be done by Fiji people, but there may be some extra spaces we don't know yet. But I'll just show the videos. We'll go through those projects and just keep them in mind. The Fiji people have a priority, so there may not be any spaces. But as of this morning, I think the first one may have space. We'll see. Here we go. To just make sure the sound is on, because it doesn't always turn on by itself.
Muluvinaka, everyone. My name is Unai Sirawekela. I am a geologist at
It's very
the
quiet.
Resources Department in Fiji. I will be one of the supervisors for the River Resource Estimation and Assessment Project. The aim of the project is to study extraction from a river in Fiji and provide status update on sustainable management processes. Therefore, students will be able to choose a river of study from any of the 3 divisions in Fiji: the Central Eastern Division of Viti-Levu, the Western Division of Viti-Levu, and the Northern Division, which is on the second island of Fiji. The objective of the project is to provide a desktop assessment of a selected river in Viti-Levu or Vono-Levu, and also to provide a data survey including volume of resources extracted on all extractions undertaken till to date. This will be only on licensed operators. And the third objective of this project is to provide coordinate data on these extraction sites to produce a map or a locality map that will help identify the old sites, the current sites, and the potential sites. The potential sites will involve baseline survey to be undertaken to a certain resource volume, to assess the quality and the replenishment rate for sustainable extraction. And all these will involve overlaying of existing data to show locations of licensed operators over the years, and potential sites for future extraction. All data should be available at the Department of Lands, who gives the approval for licensing of extraction of river gravel and sand resources within the river system in Fiji. Methodology will include desktop survey. This includes selection of a river on either Viti-Levu or Vono-Levu, the assessment and survey of all extraction undertaken in the river. All these file or survey data should be available with the Department of Lands, and collation of all EIA condition and status of sites, which should be available at the Department of Environment and Lands. And thirdly, there will be also a mapping survey that is.
Sorry about the sound. I have it as loud as I can. She's not speaking very loud.
Involved, which is the use of drone or GIS data overlaying on an existing map. And Satellite imagery can also be used, and this should be available with the Geospatial Information Management Division within the Ministry of Lands. Some of the impacts of undertaking this project will help identify gaps on the current processes in place. For example, impacts on legislative framework. In the approval process, there are relevant stakeholders that are involved, and one of the some of the examples of these stakeholders includes the Director of Lands, which under the River and Streams Act gives the approval for river gravel and sand extraction from all river system in Fiji. There's also the Director of Environment, which under the Environment Management Act grants the EIA approval. There's also the Itauke Land Trust Board, who grants the access to the river system adjacent to native lands. There's also the Ministry of Itauke Affairs, who gives the approval of waiver of fishing rights. And there's also the health inspectors, which under the Public Health Act provides their advice on development and its impact to the communities. And there's also the Department of Fisheries, who will assess the fisheries impact. And there's also the impact on a review of licensing and monitoring of extraction. So this project should be able to review and strengthen the licensing and monitoring process currently in place. The Natural Resource Officers within the Divisional Lands Office monitors the EIA approval and licensing conditions. So any breaches to any of these licenses, license or EIA is then reported to the Department of Lands and Department of Environment. Thirdly, the impact on assessment of environmental impacts. So currently, there are monthly inspections conducted by the Natural Resource Officers on licensed operators. So, fourthly, impacts on the baseline for similar projects. So this project should be able to allow students to undertake a baseline survey for collation of baseline data prior to extractions for a sustainable operation. Thank you, and we hope that you will choose our project, Inaka.
Okay, that's a very similar project trying to assess the river gravel resource in Fiji, but looking only at licensed operators rather than illegal operators. Okay, and here is the second one. Now, somebody before was asking, what are the alternatives to sand, river sand? And here is exactly the answer to that question. They're looking at getting aggregate sand and gravel from quarries rather than from rivers. I'll let the video speak about that.
Hello everybody, my name's Gary Lee. I'm a geotechnical advisor at Pacific Community, or SPC, based in Fiji. And the project which I'll be supervising is called Sourcing Sustainable Aggregate from Quarries Instead of Rivers in Fiji. Now, the background behind this project is really informed by this piece of research here, which was conducted in 2018, called the Baseline Assessment of Development Minerals in Fiji. Now, one of the major findings of this piece of work was that approximately 2/3 of the construction aggregate in Fiji is extracted from Fiji's rivers. And the study identified several negative environmental and social impacts associated with this river gravel extraction. And comparatively, the study identified that the hard rock quarries, which is a substitute type of extraction river gravel extraction. The hard rock quarries had relatively isolated, relatively minor, and relatively manageable impacts compared to river gravel extraction. And importantly, there was some great examples of quarries in Fiji which have been developed into productive assets or rehabilitated into productive assets beyond the extraction phase, such as an eco resort, Toliai Suva Eco Resort in Suva, and Vunda Marina in the west of Fiji. So based on this, one of the major recommendations of the research was for Fiji to consider developing a plan to transition away from widespread river gravel extraction and to develop a network of quarries and hard rock quarries in strategic locations. So this project, which we'll be working on together, is really aligned with this long-term goal, and it is a long-term goal. If Fiji was to transition away from river gravel extraction to a network of quarries in strategic locations, this will take time and it'll require several activities. And this activity, this project we'll be working on together, is a very important piece of that puzzle. So what this project will involve is, first of all, getting an understanding of the existing state of play on the ground. So where are the existing quarries, where are the existing river gravel extraction sites, what are the remaining resources in the existing quarries, and how much material can they supply into the future. Then the next step will be to look at the demand. So look at the development plans for Fiji and planned infrastructure projects to get an understanding of the projected spatial distribution of demand for construction aggregates into the future. And then align with that, another activity will be to develop a questionnaire which will be sent out to the main consumers or private sector stakeholders which are purchasing construction aggregate and utilizing it to develop infrastructure, to get an understanding of where are there issues with supply, where are contractors having to haul aggregate large distances, where are there quality issues, where is the demand predominantly met by river gravel extraction, where is it predominantly met by quarried aggregate. So then combining this analysis, this will really help to identify where are the priority areas for quarry development. And then, so once those areas are identified, the next step will be to focus on those areas and to investigate the geological maps, the bulletins, the reports, and any existing information to really dig into that and try and find any useful information which may identify where are there prospective geological units or geological deposits which are suitable or prospective for quarry development, which could potentially produce construction aggregate to meet the various specifications. And the idea behind this, the outcome is hopefully the report which you'll produce will help inform the government and the private sector on prospective locations for on-the-ground investigations to follow up on these prospective sites to investigate if they are suitable for quarry development. And ultimately, some of the tangible outcomes of this work will hopefully be that some new quarries get established in Fiji. So this is a very important piece of work, and I look forward to working with you on it. So thank you.
Okay, that is the alternative to river gravel, finding new quarries. As I say, I think this one's pretty full already because it's mainly designated for Fiji, as all three projects are, but they will consider other people if there's space, and we'll have to wait to find out. So I'll go to the next one, which is the third Fiji project, which is also related. And Jerry Taganisia will be with us on Friday. He couldn't make it today. And this has to do with, they're a road building company, and this has to do with looking at the quality and quantity of the aggregate that they're using in their road construction. So I'll just go through it. It says road construction is at an all-time high. Aggregate is in high demand, and the supply is becoming more difficult to find, and also quality. So, and there's very little research on the quality of the quarried material in Fiji. So, oops, here we go. Let's see. He's talking about Viti Levu, which is one of the islands. Big demand due to ongoing road projects in the Suva, which is the main city, arterial network, and building and construction and secondary industries like brick and block making, concrete suppliers, and asphalt plants. It says they have a bunch of existing quarries and some small hard rock and river gravel suppliers. And they have an urgent need to identify suitable rock sources in the greater Suva, Tai Levu, and Raki areas, which are different communities, to cater for the ongoing and upcoming projects. And this is, as I say, a road building company. So they're looking at the quality of the materials. We had the same problem identified in PNG, Papua New Guinea, that the roads were falling apart because they were using poor quality aggregate. So this is another problem that happens in numerous places. So these are some of the quarries that they might want to be looking at. Identify and assess the current aggregate suppliers and categorize for quality, quantity, and accessibility. Identify potential for hard rock and river gravel sources in eastern Viti Levu. I think that's the main island. Assess potential aggregate sources viability with ongoing or upcoming aggregate demand from above mentioned industries. Rank and make recommendations for development of identified potential sources. So a report, the outcome should be a report identifying the outcomes and recommendations, a map showing locations of potential sources, and developing a proposal for ranking potential sites. So that's pretty much a summary of the third project. And there may be some space available on that one. It looks like we have Dr. Mamous with us. I think he solved his connectivity problems. And I will first introduce him, and then I'll turn it over to him to talk about the project that he's proposing, and he'll just have to unmute his mic. Dr. Anthony Mamous is the Executive Dean of the Faculty of Engineering and Geosciences at Midland State University in Zimbabwe. He holds an undergraduate degree in geology from the University of Zimbabwe and master and PhD from in applied geology from Curtin University in Australia. He previously worked as a geologist for the Zimbabwe Geological Survey, was a research fellow at the University of Zimbabwe, an exploration geologist at Fortescue Metals Group, Australia, and a lecturer at the Midland State University. So Dr. Mamous, if you're with us, if you could show your video and unmute your mic and tell us about the project in Zimbabwe, we'd appreciate it. See if he's with us. I think so. Welcome.
Yes, hello, Gary. Can you hear me now?
Welcome. I can. Welcome to our,
yes, thank you.
Our class. Yes.
Thank you very much. I still have issues with my connectivity.
You're sounding much better.
Hello, Gary.
Hello, you're sounding better, but you should probably turn off the video. You'll have much better luck with the sound. So go ahead.
Thank you, Gary. Is it better now?
Yeah, go ahead and tell us about this project.
Yes, let me do that. Look, what we have here is actually a broadened version of the project. Initially, it was posted as a Zimbabwe project, but we are trying to replicate it now across wherever our partners are, trying to work in terms of industrial or development minerals. You see, the most important issue here, we are saying we don't know enough about these minerals. Can we have an inventory of these minerals and then try to look at their properties, analyze them in the lab, and understand more as to what applications we can put them to? So that is what we are doing. It's starting off a strong theoretical base, establishing what these minerals should be and how we can assess them. Also, I see a step that I have missed here. We need to know how we can beneficiate them to make them accessible for the various industrial applications. So this is a generic project which can run across any country, and also it can run across any commodity which we can define as a development mineral. If you have seen the earlier version, we're talking about clays, we're talking about kyanite, we're talking about garnet, and also we're talking about chrome, how we can use silica and kyanite together to beneficiate chromite. So this is something that we are trying to look at. So this is just a summary of what can be done. But out of this should come a thorough literature review of these things. And then from there, we build on. And I hope some of our participants will be able to actually go to the lab and do the analysis. And then from there, step up the value of their development minerals. So I'm leaving it general so that the participants can be as innovative as they can once we have this step covered. So in summary, this is what I have, Gary.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's gives people a lot of opportunity to be creative. I think that's a very very good idea. We appreciate that. So there's a couple of questions. Lakshmi is asking if she can undertake this project in South Africa, and so if you want to answer her, I believe you're saying you can do this anywhere.
Yes, that can be done in South Africa. Let's come up with a list of the minerals that the participant is targeting. Then we try to work out together to a workable concept that we can bring together. And then, yes, it is possible to do it from South Africa.
Great, thank you. And there's another question about doing a case study on kaolin clay mining. Would that be possible?
Did you say clay mining, Gary?
I said kaolin clay, kaolinite clay, yes.
Yes, certainly. That is important. And I hope then we'll also have really characterized that kaolinite.
Okay. So it's
Can you hear me?
sounds like, yes, I can hear you. It sounds like there's a lot of flexibility on this project. They can do choose the resource and they can choose a location that I can't be much more flexible than that. Okay, any further questions? There is also a project to do with clay in Ghana, but we'll get to that next. Thank you, Dr. Mamous, for telling us about this project. And what we're going to do, if you can stick around or return in about half an hour, 40 minutes from now, we're going to go into groups and you can meet with the students that want to work on your project. So you can either stick around or you can come back in a half an hour or so. We're going to go into our groups after our break. So that's up to you. And
thank you, Gary.
Yeah, thanks again for presenting that. Hopefully you can be with us in a little while to meet with the students. That would be ideal if they can meet with you after our break. That's in about, say, half an hour. Okay, I'll go on to the next project. This one is Dr. Kweku. We met him the first day he was with us, and this one has to do with unlocking the potential for clay. It's kind of a similar idea. What is the value added that can be done from clay? He says clay minerals are phyllosilicate groups naturally found in soils in all parts of the world. Clay minerals are among the most essential construction materials due to their unique physico-chemical properties and versatile applications within a wide range of fields, including ceramics, construction, environmental remediation, biomedical, as well as cosmetics. Some of the commonest and important applications of clay are in the manufacture of paper, paint, plastics, ink, roofing, pottery, bricks, ceramic, floor tiles, and rubber. As shown in the map, Ghana, like most countries, is heavily endowed with the clay mineral deposits, which are commonly found in several areas, including soil horizons, as well as geothermal fields and volcanic deposits, and are formed under certain geological conditions. Despite its abundance and socioeconomic potential, the development of the clay industry has received little attention in Ghana. This warrants the need to conduct study to understand the dynamics that hinders the development of the clay industry. And this is a problem that's very typical in developing countries, is they're not doing the value added. They're exporting the raw materials, and then the value added is done somewhere else, which is where most of the financial benefit is found. So so that pretty much covers it. It's looking at the potential of clay, and that's in Ghana. Okay, I'll go to the next one. I don't think any of these project leaders are with us. Just checking to make sure no one has joined us. Nope, don't see anyone. Okay, so the next one is in the Philippines. I think she will be with us on Friday. This one has to do with transforming quarry waste into valuable products. Identify valuable products that can be made from aggregate quarry tailings and wastes. Design a conceptual process flow to create the value product. So once again, value added from something other people would probably overlook. That's pretty much all there is to that one. By the way, I put the contact information for all of these team leaders, but I'll also put you in groups so you can communicate with each other. Okay, the next one is in Cameroon, and there's a couple options. The study on the development of aerated concrete blocks, study on the development of low-cost residential houses from local minerals, and a study on the development of alkali activated materials. So that is in Cameroon. We had Dr. Neufville was with us.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, I discussed with Professor Ufi from Cameroon, and she because she have many meetings at the same time, so she suggested if I can assist to present the project for her.
Are you talking about Cameroon? Sorry, you talking about
Please?
Cameroon? Oh, okay,
Please?
I'll go back. Yes, I'll go back to that then.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for jumping in. I wasn't aware that you were here. So go ahead.
Okay, so actually I'm Patrick Lemunia. I am also a lecturer at the University of Ngaoundéré. And I also received your email some time ago, but I was waiting for your feedback, and then I didn't receive any feedback. So I didn't know also how was the preparation for for this. And yesterday when I heard that, because I was trying to follow anyway the programs, and yesterday when I heard that there will be projects today, and then I discussed with her, and then she say I can try to, for today at least, to give brief information on the projects. So
Thank you very much. Go ahead. I appreciate it.
Yes, but we will provide more. Like I see your presentation at the beginning, so we'll provide. I've been discussing with her also on the content, so we'll provide all those information also maybe today. So all have much more information. But I can already say, like, for the first project, like study on the development of aerated concrete blocks, actually for building application, what we really like is we need material with high strength, but we also need material with low weight. Then it could be used, and it could you can the building structure, you don't need to spend too much cost on the structure. An aerated concrete block is produced basically from mineral resources. One of these resources is sand, and it could also use some kind of mineral resources like calcine clay. It could also use some mineral resource like waste stone. These mineral resources could be used at about 70% of the compositions, and then you have the 30% could be a mixture of ordinary Portland cement, and then you can have some amount of limestone and also plaster, about 3% of plaster. Actually, what we observe is that in many developing countries, in many modern countries, we have this kind of building material are produced, but in developing countries, we don't have these kind of materials. So the aim of the project actually for this first part is just to collect information. So what is the feasibility? Because the context is mainly for developing country, because like in Germany, they have been producing this kind of block, and in many other European countries also, and they have this kind of block are used for building. So the aim of the project is to see how some mineral in Africa could be valorized to produce this kind of material, because surely it will add some added value in the building material sector in Africa. And also there are also many building materials which are still imported, and maybe could also have some kind of positive effect also on the trade balance or something like this. So basically this is the main information for this first project. I could say is just to collect information, any information about. So first to check on the literature, there are documents on this kind of aerated concrete blocks, and check on the literature, and now try to find out what is the difficulty, why we don't have this kind of product in Africa. What is the difficulty? Is it possible to produce this kind of building block and then valorize some mineral resources in Africa? And if possible, so what could be done to facilitate then that, and then also to make, maybe it can also contribute to much affordable houses. So this is what I can say as summary information for the first point. So I can now move to the second point, is a study on the development of low residential house from local mineral resources. So in this project, actually, this project is very wide, and the main objective for this one is just to because we have in many developing countries, we have the problem of access to affordable houses is still problematic. if I take the case of Cameroon's, the deficit for housing is huge. It's more than 10,000 houses that we need per year. So this project actually is just to try to collect also information, which kind of mineral resource. So here, if somebody want to work on that, is just to see which kind of mineral resource could be used, could be valorized to get to this type of houses, and which some kind of affordable cost. It could be like, it could be a mineral resource based on earth, like for example, compressed earth block. It could be something based on stone. If the region have a lot of stone, it could be based on sand. So this is like freedom. So it's just that the student should think and see what kind of mineral resource could be used to get some kind of affordables and also maybe good quality residential house. So this is for the second project, is to collect information that could help to valorize mineral resource, which they aim to get into affordable constructions. And for the third project is study on the development of alkali activated materials. Actually, the building sector is like, we have a lot of problem. If I take the production of conventional Portland cement, normally we know that when we produce normally 1 ton of Portland cement, we release in the atmosphere also about 1 ton of CO2. So there is problem of CO2 emissions regarding the production of cement, and nowadays is estimated that we have about 5 to 8% anthropogenic CO2 is from Portland cement emissions. And because of that, there has been many research for the development of more environmentally friendly building materials. And one of these kind of building materials are alkali activated materials. So alkali activated materials, they are produced from mineral resource, and then we use alkaline solutions. There have been some trials in some country, like in Australia. I think the Queensland airport has been built with this kind of building materials. So the aim of this project is actually to investigate the feasibility of developing also such materials from mineral resources in developing country. The main mineral resource that could be used for this kind of material, we have like volcanic ash, we have also like calcine clay, calcine laterite, and yes, so basically it's any mineral resources that could contain like free reactive silica and alumina, mainly in amorphous state, because if they are in amorphous state, they are free to react. So here also, so the aim is to see what has been done in modern countries and where this has been used, and try to see like in developing country context, what is the difficulty to produce this kind of materials, what is the highlight the advantage, and also making some suggestions. So basically is what I could say for the 3 projects. So they are all based on the valorization of some mineral resources.
Great, thank you very much for the detailed explanation, and I hope you can stay around for our meeting with the students after our break, which let's see, how many more do we have? Well, it's going to take another 20 minutes, then we'll have a break. So we're trying to shoot for 4:30, so I guess that would be 10 minutes. I don't know if we'll make it. We'll try to take a break and then come back and have a break into groups, and you can meet with students that are interested. So I hope you can stick around for that. But thank you very much for the description.
Okay,
there any,
okay, thank you.
Are there any questions? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, thanks a lot. Any, somebody switching, so you got some customers, you managed to sell the project, to somebody at least. Let's see. Is there a possibility of changing the project after your project selection? Yes. You know, the next couple days, hopefully by Friday, you've made up your mind. So, because that by that point, we need to have a proposal and so forth. So, all right, I'll go on to the next one. Keep in mind, you know, the time zones. This one Dr. Nupfer was with us this morning. I don't know what's happened to my screen. It's got some red on it, but I'll just ignore that. This one may not be, you know, suitable, but basically what he's saying is that they have, in Jamaica, they have these criteria for designating a quarry area, and it's completely political and arbitrary. It has no basis in terms of geology or environment or even business development. So he wants to evaluate you know, basically rewrite the Quarries Act so it makes sense about where to put the quarries. And so these are the considerations. And he wants somebody with geospatial, some geospatial knowledge to be involved in that project. So that's the one in Jamaica. All right, and we've already seen Dr. Mehti from India, basically how to use waste in building materials. He gave his talk, and I already have a number of people that were assigned to that project. But I think there's room for there's room for a couple more on that one. I have not heard back from Lika, which was very similar, had to do with, it was similar to the one in Fiji about the quality of the aggregate. And they have the same problem in Papua New Guinea, where the roads are falling apart in 2 to 3 years because the aggregate quality is not, it's not regular. They have problems with the aggregate quality and the roads falling apart. So they want to look at the quality of the aggregate. So once again, it's very similar to the one in Fiji, but I have not heard back from Lika. So I'm not sure if this one is able to go forward, but all the other ones I have heard back from everyone. We already heard from Dr. Mwandura. So I think we've gone through them all. That's great. So we'll take a break. And when we come back, I want you to tell me which project you're selecting. We'll put you into groups, and you can meet with your other group members if the team leader is not here, and they may jump in after we start. So are there any further questions before we have a 10-minute break? Okay, I'll see you back in 10 minutes then. You want to put in 80 hours, 160 hours?
Yeah, I want to do also with Dr. Soman.
Right. Well, I would say, you know, you need to dedicate 80 hours to one project. So if you want to do two, that would be 160 hours, which is actually, you know, about 4 weeks of time, full time, but it's going to be spread out between now and February. So I know, you know, to get, there's going to be a certificate of completion, and you'll need to show 80 hours on one project. So that would be the requirement, just to show 80 hours, which reminds me, I want everyone to keep track of your hours, and your project leader will have to confirm that you did the hours. So keep track of your hours once the projects start. That's after Friday, where this is all part of the 40-hour course, but after Friday, then you can start keeping track of your hours. So I'll just leave it at that. Okay, so let's see here. Just got to get to the presentation format. Okay, there we go. All right, so I'll just start with a little preview. Oh, got 2 new messages here. It says, what happens after the project and presentation? Well, I'm not sure. Are you talking about the presentation Friday? Or are you talking about the presentation in February, Daniel?
In February.
Then you will be development mineral experts, and you will basically take over the world after that. Does that sound all right? Yeah, that's the end of the course. After you do the 80 hours, we'll come back and we will meet and do a final presentation. Let me go over that right now because that's really what I was going to talk about next. So I hope you can see my screen. Somebody's going to tell me to zoom in and make it bigger, so I'll do that. So ideally, I know it's a very compressed time schedule. Normally I teach this over like a 3-month semester, but it's compressed. So this will be the presentation on Friday, which your group will do as a group. And it includes the project statement, project concept, description, how you're going to address the problem, and the SDGs. It's only 7 slides, obligations of you and your sponsor, timeline, and actually even a budget. I may have some funds if you have some costs you think you may have, lab costs or something, make me a proposal. We may be able to come up with a small amount of funds. The only thing you're not going to have is the results. So this is the same presentation that you'll do in February, but you're going to add the results at the end. So a lot of the work will be done for the final presentation. So that's the format. I need a PowerPoint from each group, and that'll be the final day on Friday. Okay, now going back to tomorrow, I would like to cover the literature review because you need to do some research, and your project, looks like I lost it. Your team leader may be able to advise you on some relevant literature, which reminds me, I did include some material, which is on the next page here. Whoops. There's some basic references here, but you're going to need more detailed references on the location where you're working. Hopefully this is going to work. If there's any problems, just let me know in the chat. So what is a literature review? Basically, it's to do, we already talked about the agreement and the proposal. That's just the documents that you're filling out. Breaking down the problem, you want to look at the problem and then look at the objectives. The purpose of the literature review is to orient yourself to the topic, avoid duplicating what other people have done, define your objectives. You can use any sources you want for that. As I mentioned, start broad, development minerals. You're going to look at clay. You're going to do it in Ghana. You're going to look at a particular location or maybe a particular kind of clay, kaolinite clay or something else. So start broad, narrow it down. This is just an example from climate change. Orient yourself, said this, problem statement. Describe the problem. How will your project contribute to solving the problem? This is all in your forms. describe similar projects, explain how you'll communicate results. It's all in the forms. How will you go about achieving it? What are your methods? And would help to make a timeline and assign responsibilities to different members of your group. I find that 5 is a good group. 5 is a good number for groups, but some of you may have more or less. That's pretty much it. That's what you need to do for tomorrow. Research the problem so you understand the location, you understand the development mineral, you understand the issue, and you can start filling out those forms. You have the whole class tomorrow to work on it together, and then to prepare your presentation for Friday. If it doesn't get done by then, you know, that's fine. It's very compressed schedule. This is first time we've done it, so hopefully that will work. As I said, these are some general materials. If you're lucky, if they did a baseline study in the country you're working, there's 2 here that we do have projects, actually 3. We have Fiji, Jamaica, and Zambia. So there's a lot of information in there. If you're working in one of those countries, you're very lucky. So yeah, I think that's it for tomorrow. I will, there's a new message here. Present literature review as a group. The literature review is just the background information. I'm not going to require, if this was a class for credit, I'd ask you to submit a literature review in writing. I'm not going to do that. It's just to gather information, to be able to fill out the project forms, and to be able to do the presentation. So everything's done as a group from here on in. You're going to need to cooperate with each other, which will be challenging with different time zones and so forth. We've all had to deal with this online stuff for the last 1.5 years. So everything's done as a group from now on. All right. I think that's it till tomorrow. Noel has his hand up. Go ahead.
Hello, Gary. The project contract also have to be submitted on Friday?
Yes, it says contract. It's just an agreement. It's not any kind of a contract. It's just an agreement of what you're going to do, what your project leader is going to do. And I would like, yes, both of those forms I would like by Friday. And then the PowerPoint presentation, we'll spend the whole day doing that on Friday. Each group will make one presentation. You're going to do everything as a group. Patrick, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Actually, I just to make some clarification. During our discussion in the group, we think it would be more efficient to concentrate on one project because there was like 3 topics. So we selected the first one, and the group will be working on that, which is development of aerated concrete using local mineral resources. And so everybody will be working on that, and then it will be more efficient, and we can go in deep and really share experience between Cameroon and Ube, who is from Ethiopia, and Gaste from Madagascar. So it's just what I wanted to add. And I think this was one of the project priority from Professor Ufitinje. So it's better you focalize on that, and then we get a better output.
Fantastic. That was the whole point of having a meeting today, was to hash out those details. And that's completely up to you how you want to run the project. You are in charge of the project, and that's a great strategy to focus on one project. So thanks for letting me know, and full steam ahead. That's great. Thanks for letting me know. Okay, anyone else have questions or comments? If not, I will say thank you very much. I went, like I say, a little bit chaotic, but I think we're starting to get it organized, and looking forward to seeing how this turns out. So thank you, everybody, for your participation, and I'll see you tomorrow.